Well, let's look at simplifying this stuff. You might think to begin with there's nothing we can do here because remember, in adding and subtracting roots, you can only add roots that are the same. However, we can simplify this. The square root of 45. 45, since we're dealing with a square root, you want to think, okay, does 45 have any factors that are perfect squares? And the answer is yes. It's a 9 times a 5. Same idea with 80. Are there any factors of 80 that are perfect squares? And well, the answer is yes. It's a 16 times a 5. Yes, there is a 4 times a 20, but you always want to try to go for the largest perfect square you can find that goes into a number. And then you have 20, which is a 4 times a 5. So now you have your 3 in the front. The square root of your 9 here is an additional 3 in front. The square root of your 5 you can't do anything with. Your 5 in front, the square root of your 16 is a 4. The square root of your 5 you can't do anything with. Your 4 in front, square root of 4 is 2. Your square root of 5 you can't do anything with. So it's really a 9 root 5, a 20 root 5, and an 8 root 5. Now they're all the same root of root 5s. So you have 9 of them, you're taking 20 of them away, and you're adding 8, gives you a total of negative 3 of those root 5s. Over here, you want to go ahead and FOIL, because you have 2 terms times 2 terms. So you multiply what's the first terms together. There's no root here, so it's just your 3 times your 2 in front. Still with your root 3. Multiply your outer terms. You multiply what's in front, the 2 and the negative 1, your 3 and your 3. Multiply your inner terms. You multiply what's in front of your root. There's really a root of 1 here. So it's your 3 times your 3, which is 9, and your root 3. Then you do your last terms. Multiply what's in front, 3 and negative 1. Your root 3 times your root 3. This one here doesn't simplify, but the root of 9, you know, is 3. That one doesn't simplify. Root of 9, you know, is 3. So your 2 times your 3, you know. Also your 3 times your 3. But you notice this root here is the same as this root here. So you have 6 of these root 3's plus 9 more of these root 3's gives you 15 of these root 3's. Now you can work this out, and that's just negative 15 of those. And then you have your 15 root 3 here. You cannot combine these together because this one here has no root. Okay, multiplying roots together. Once again, to multiply roots, you multiply what's in front, your 2 and your 3. Then you multiply what's inside, your 16 times your 4, your a squared times your a. So you have this. Cube root of 64, you should know, is 4. Cube root of an a cubed, you should know, is just a, because your cube root undoes your cubing. So it's really just a 24a. Root 75. 75, since we're dealing with a square root, is a 25, which is a perfect square, times an additional 3. 48. Is there any factor of 48 that's a perfect square? And that's a 16 times a 3. Yes, 4 goes in there, but remember you always want to choose the largest perfect square that will work. And a root 3, there's nothing you can do to it. So you'd have your 3, square root of your 25, and the square root of your 3. Your 2, square root of your 16, square root of 3, can't do anything to, and you'd still have your square root of 3. So it's really a 15 root 3 here, and 8 root 3 here with a negative in front, and just a root 3 there. So now that all your roots are the same, you can go ahead and add and subtract them. You have 8 of these, you're subtracting, 15 of these root 3's minus 8 of the root 3's plus 1 of the root 3's is in positive 8 root 3. So we're going to go ahead and FOIL this first one out. You multiply the first terms together. 2 and a 5 is 10 with your root 5 afterwards. Work out your outer terms. negative 2 and a root 35, because once again you multiply what's in front of your roots and then what's inside of your roots. Same idea here. What's in front of your roots would be a 20. What's inside of your root? Well, that's just a root 6. Then your last ones. It'd be what's in front, a negative 4. What's inside would be 6 times 7, or 42. And in this case, we're done, because none of our roots are the same, and none of our roots simplify. Because here you have a root 35. The only factors that go into 35 are 5 and 7. Neither one of them are perfect squares. Here, your root 6 doesn't simplify. The only factors of 6 are 2 and 3. Neither one of them are perfect squares. And none of the factors of 42 are perfect squares. And since all the roots are different, there's nothing you can do to combine them together. Taking a look up here, we have a 3 over a 2 minus a root 6. Leaves us with a root 6 in the bottom. You know we don't want to have a root in the bottom, so we want to multiply by a special form of 1. Some of you may be tempted to multiply the top and the bottom by a root 6. But that's not going to help us here, because if we did that to the top and to the bottom, you get a 2 times a root 6 here. So, yeah, sorry about that. Minus a square root of 36, or 6, so it would still leave you with a root in the bottom. So multiplying by root 6 top and bottom doesn't work. Whenever you have two terms in the bottom where one of them has a root, or they both have a root but it's not one big root, then you want to multiply by what's referred to as your conjugate. The conjugate's the same as the bottom, you just switch the sign in between. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by this. Well, you're going to want to FOIL out the bottom, your 2 times your 2. Multiply out the outer terms, 2 root 6. Multiply the inner terms in negative 2 root 6. Multiply the last terms, it'd be a negative, and then a square root of 6 squared. On top, we don't need to FOIL because there's only one term here we're multiplying by this by. So it's really just distributing your 3 times your 2, and then your 3 times your root. Now, you'll notice, excuse me here, you'll notice that these two terms here are the same, but one's positive, one's negative, so they undo each other, and they cancel out. So we still have the top, we still have our 4, and then we have a minus this, which is just 6. So on the bottom, we just get a negative 2. Typically, though, you don't leave your negative on the bottom, so I'm going to just take the negative and apply it to the top instead. We get this. I would accept either one of these two as your answers, though, on your test, but I'd prefer the bottom one.